Welcome to the Highly Evolved Male Summit. I'm your host, Ethan Nukalta, and today we have Dr. Sky Blossoms, a #1 best-selling author, international speaker, and wisdom advisor. Dr. Sky's magic touch has helped hundreds of high performers to transform their relationships, make more money, and regain zest for life. She's known for activating miracles and rapid manifestations effortlessly. Welcome to the show.
Thank you so much, Ethan. What a lovely introduction.
No, absolutely. Thank you for being here. So before we go into too much detail about the, highly evolved men and purpose and all that sort of juicy stuff, I gather that you've not had such an easy background. Would you mind telling us a little bit about that?
Well, I grew up behind the Iron Curtain in the Soviet Union, in the very scarce environment and really in the mentality of limitation, almost as limited as it gets. And I grew up in a family of sages, which was kind of hidden. So the environment was atheistic. Spirituality did not exist formally, but undercurrent in people's hearts, it always was as strong as ever. So my ancestry, my great grandmothers and my mother, they're healers in different modalities, and they always knew different things that were not scientific, right? So until I was, I'm not going to tell you how old, like very much into my adulthood, but I've never tried antibiotics. When I was growing up, my mom would always treat me with like herbs, or she would make natural remedies. And there was nothing used in my body that would be like, heavy vaccinations or things like that. So I always had the knowledge and a little insight more off the beaten path. So that's about the rough start.
Yeah. Wow. Okay. So you were kind of quite nurtured then, really, by your family into this kind of lifestyle.
It was so natural. I didn't even know it was something different. And then when I went to the medical school and graduated as a doctor, I actually saw a huge difference in the perception of how things were working in the scientific world, right? And how doctors were addressing things. Because throughout all of my years of studying in medical school, nobody taught us how to be healthy. We were studying diseases and all of this variety of what's wrong or what could possibly go wrong. And isn't it the aim to be healthy? Nobody teaches you that. That's weird, isn't it?
Right. Yeah, absolutely. The way that Western medicine and science works is so different from the oneness of how the universe works. Yeah.
Yeah. But I had the privilege of gaining insight into both worlds, and there's certain merit to the medical science, of course, as well, and knowing how your body functions, biology, all of those things is very, very helpful. Yeah, but the combination, I think, is
I see. I see. So how did you sort of, so you did more of the Western stuff first, and then you transferred into the more spiritual stuff. Is that right? Or relationship coaching?
Well, I did not consciously say, okay, now I've done with that, I'm going to do this, right? My path has unfolded just like you briefly shared to me, your spontaneous awakening. So in my case, I was a doctor. When I moved to United States, I could not be a doctor in the United States. And I went, because, license, I'll skip the details, it was just simply impossible. And for about 13 years, I was in whole immigration struggle and survival mode. Like working, studying, making sure my papers are legal, and it was a battle. And throughout all this time, I knew whatever I was doing, I had different jobs. I worked in entertainment and fashion, you name it. I felt like whatever I was doing, I was not doing what I'm supposed to do, and that my gifts are dying within me. And I had no idea what those gifts actually were. I just had a sense of them, and I didn't know how to apply them. And I swear it was not less than 10 years. I kept asking the universe, like, show me. I feel like I have so much potential, and it's not being expressed. It's not being lived. So, and finally, I guess when I was ready on my own spiritual path, because maybe a year or two prior to my gifts really were revealed even to me, not much less to the world, I started asking entirely different questions, and I started having different quality of desires. For example, especially coming from a very scarce environment, I wanted to be able to buy Louboutin shoes for myself. I wanted to live in Beverly Hills. I wanted to drive a fancy car and live, lavish life and be able to stay in Ritz-Carlton. So for those years, I focused on being able to create those experiences, and I did. And finally, one day, I realized that what I truly, truly wanted was to love. And I wanted to love everyone without any restriction. I wanted to be able to look at the person, and even though, no matter how they behave, I wanted to not restrict my heart from the capacity to love them. And it was not easy, because if I saw someone abuse or being rude or being a criminal or being a drug addict, I'm not blind. I can see those things. How can I love people when they are lying to me or when they're doing something wrong, right? So it was years in unraveling that puzzle and how actually to embody that. So, and that's when I started asking those types of questions, and that became my priority. That's when I realized what I'm truly capable of. And I wouldn't say I even do relationship coaching. I don't do that. I create space where people can truly discover their relationship with their own soul, with their oversoul, with their heart, and then everything else in the outside world, all of their struggles, it's like the light goes on and everything becomes clear, and they see the real source of it, and there is no more entanglement and being lost in a mind maze, because our minds are very tricky and it's very easy to get confused with the emotions. And especially whatever they teach you in psychology, oh my goodness, I know that stuff through and through. It's so complicated, and the truth is relationships are easy and they're simple.
Yeah, absolutely. And you've covered so many great points just in that spiel about your how your life transitioned, whether it was kind of like aligning with your purpose and your gifts, so then you can have that happiness, in the way that you're living your life. I think there's so many guys out there that are, working hard jobs, and they're, supporting their families, which, is great, but not necessarily in alignment with what they're here to do. And, that's amazing that you've highlighted that. So you really knew what you wanted to do. And part of that was coming from a place of love. And I think that's interesting, because I've realized that love really is kind of the heart of everything, right? If you can come from that place, then everything changes.
Yeah, I'm a servant of love, in its truest form, and actually my life is surrendered to that service.
Yeah, that's amazing. So, what sort of obstacles come up when you're seeing to your clients?
Ask me that again, because I'd like to understand your question deeper.
So, for instance,
for me to work with clients, or what are the typical problems that they have?
Yeah, exactly. What's the typical problems that come up with your client base?
I've had a privilege of working with a huge variety of challenges, but some of the most fun ones, I'll give you the case study. I had a client, very, very prominent doctor, superstar in his profession, and he was stuck in a toxic relationship for about 2.5 years, and it drained him financially. It was really impacting his business. It was impacting his emotions and his state, and he couldn't get out of it. His girlfriend was cheating on him. She had a lot of habits that he didn't agree with, like smoking pot and things. And yet it seemed like it was an addiction. He knew it was wrong. He knew he had to end it, but he couldn't just let it go. And he kept going back and back and back. And he tried every solution there was. Even Tony Robbins' coaches told him, you know what, we tried everything we could. We don't know what to do with you. We think you need a psychiatrist. And that's when he stumbled upon my book. And I was offering at that time a free consultation. So he called me up and said, you know what, you're a doctor. And they said, I need a psychiatrist, but maybe you can help me. And when we started, and most people try to approach this solutions from the logic, from the change of the behavior, but none of that actually works. You cannot quit smoking, but just resisting smoking, right? Because that's why it's an addiction.
Yeah.
So you have to figure out what is the undercurrent driver. And when he flew, at that time I lived in LA, he flew to see me for 3 days for a VIP immersion. And it became apparent that it had nothing to do with his girlfriend. It had everything to do with the dysfunctional relationship he had growing up with his father, and an extreme hatred and a resentment he had towards his father, and how it completely crippled his confidence when it came to personal, intimate relationships, where he was super confident, like manly man in his work arena. You can't mess with him. But in the personal life, he became, I don't even know what to call it, right? So, and once that entanglement with his father was cleared out, you didn't tell him, I didn't have to tell him what to do. He knew exactly what to do, how to do it. He went back, made all the changes, and a year later met an amazing woman. And as far as I know, to this day, they're still together, and it's been a few years. So no matter what it is, and I've worked with men who came to me for their relationships with their business, where they keep making money and losing money, making money and losing money. Today he's a millionaire, tomorrow he's in debt again. Yeah. And they don't know what's going on. So there's always something that eludes our conscious mind, that's underlying reason, the true reason, to be discovered and addressed. And once that's in alignment, everything else falls into place.
Absolutely. And I think so often the issues that we have with our parents, often it programs us from a young age, and then we continue those same patterns throughout our life, and until we get to the stage where we can transmute them, sort of learn the lesson from it, and then move forwards from that, right?
Well, truth be told, nobody had a perfect life. Not one human being had a perfect life, and it's great by design, because we, from our soul perspective, choose our challenges that will eventually become our fuel to share our gifts. We have to face certain struggles so that we understand them, and we can, and from there, our greatest empowerment comes, right? They become the launching pad. What happens is, when we are little, we don't know how to navigate those gifts, how to receive those gifts, and we think and we process them in a traumatic way, right? If for example, you had a mother who did not give you much attention, you had a sibling who was younger and came along, and all of a sudden you felt abandoned in attention, and then the wound was formed. But actually that wound was a potential for finding love within, and for learning early on how to be love and how to embody it and how to share it, so that you're not in that needy place. But nobody is capable of guiding us through this when we're learning, when we're just growing up, when we're little, right? So that's why, for those of us who are adults and people who are having children or thinking of having children, or they're being mentors to the younger generation, once you figure it out for yourself, then you can empower someone else, right?
Yeah, absolutely. So then, I've heard the expression that you become your parents. Would you say that is true? Like, oh, sorry, not. Well, yeah. Do you think that you become your parents when you've been programmed to them like them, as such?
You can. I would say you can, or you don't have to. I would not make that absolute statement, you become your parents. I believe that our parents are there to show us what not to do.
Then do you think that we can end up marrying someone that's like our mum or dad? Is that more of a thing?
Well, I think you're speaking more of what psychologists tell you. That's a common opinion, and it certainly does occur, but it doesn't have to be that way. So once a person has been on a path of self-discovery and self-development, they can start finding their true desires and their true needs. And of course, in the beginning, we're all bounced around those pre-programmed things. Because look at it this way. Most people, I would say, with a very, very small exception on the planet, they don't even have their own desires. What we're supposed to want is programmed by us, by the society, by those around us. We're all programmed into the same scenario. Back in the day, it was go to school, get good grades, get married, retire, blah, 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 make a big contribution to your community. Now the new generation says, okay, become successful early, enjoy many retirements, da-da-da. But it's one program traded for the other. Nonetheless, it's a program. Nobody spends the time actually with themselves thinking what is truly important for me. If I want the new car, why do I want the new car? Why is it important for me to have? What's about the new car that's going to give me the satisfaction? Is the car the path to that satisfaction, right? What is the true cause, the true essence of my desire? Same with the relationship. When I ask people, describe to me your ideal relationship. Let's play this game. Describe to me then your ideal relationship.
Wow, my ideal relationship is to have a loving relationship where there's trust, where there's passion, where we have a similar vision for our life. Yeah, that's the main things.
Well done. I have to give you a thumbs up. You're a very, very rare exception. When I ask that question, you know what majority of people tell me? They say, well, I want a partner who is XYZ, smart, we have chemistry, we have da-da-da-da-da. And they start describing their partner. They're not describing the relationship because we think in those terms. And we're not saying, who am I supposed to become in that ideal relationship? And certainly if I'm not excited to become my mother or my father, who do I have to become as a human being to enable those relationships that I want? So it's all in your game. And people can play by their rules. And if out of our conversation, our audience gets one message, you get to create your own rules.
Yeah, so yeah, absolutely. It's all about intention and directing that intention and creating a vision. So if you have that, then you can create whatever you want, right? But how does that work when you're in a relationship and your partner wants one thing, you want another? How does compromise work in relationships?
Beautiful. I love that. I don't believe in compromise at all. This is totally contrary to what anybody else will tell you. And I look at relationships as a mirror, where every relationship in your life is the mirror of what's going on inside of your heart and your soul and your belief system. Relationship with money, relationship with your body, relationship with your lover, relationship with your neighbors, with your parents, with politics, with the planet, with everything. It's the reflection of what's within. Now, if you have one desire and your partner has the other, the very first thing that I would do to see the essence deeper than this, because when we say, I have the desire, I want to live in the mountains, and she wants to live by the ocean. It's not the essence of the desire, it's how. I think that I will get what I want if I'm in the mountains. I think I'll get what I want if I'm by the sea. What do you truly want? And then you start discovering, I want to have adventure. I want to be able to climb things. I want to look at something from the top and feel like I'm empowered. Or for her, it could be, oh, I want to immerse myself into the water. I want to relax under the sun on the beach. So there is essence of that. Now, if you get to the truth of your desire and you see what is more important for us together that we both want, and we know it's a common desire for us as a union. Oh, we both want to be in harmony with each other. I want my partner to be happy and I want to be happy. We want to enjoy each other's company while we enjoy our environment. Now, how can we together accomplish that?
Absolutely. And that's such a strong point because, with traditionally how men have been is reactive, competitive, one dominates the other, and now we get to change that way of being to a win-win. And the best place to start is in your relationship. So
challenging too.
Absolutely. But how do we create that balance? Are you saying that it's a case of looking at your inner qualities rather than going for the outer ones first?
I want to bring one word that I think for man is crucial to get in touch with, and that word is purpose. And that purpose, when it's true purpose, it's greater than their own life, right? And when a man is still insecure in who he is, he looks for outer things as a proof for his self-worth, in a sense. Look, I have this fancy watch. Look, I've built this empire, made that much money, because I want, and often what they want is love. Underneath all of this, I want to drive a Ferrari because I believe that chicks are going to flock to me, right? And I'm going to be popular with women. Or I want to have this social status because it's going to get me respect. And all of those, the actions stemmed in those desires, they're actually coming from inner deficiency and insecurity. They're cover up for insecurity. And we see a lot of those men achieving a lot of accolades and recognition in society. This whole movement of Me Too is spotlighting those men, and they call them in media powerful men, and that makes me want to puke, pardon, because these men are not powerful. They're utterly insecure. They're the most insecure folks out there. And if women could see them as insecure little children who didn't get love from their mommy, and now they're trying to play a bully role with someone who is physically weaker, they would not be afraid of them. They could speak to the heart of the matter and bring them fucking to alignment with who they are. Now, the real purpose of every man is beyond his own life. It's something that drives him deeper, that he's willing to give his life for. And this is what they called chivalry back in the day, because there was a purpose, maybe inspired by a woman, deeper than a man's individual lives. That's why they were willing, the knights, to die in the tournaments, right? So in this day and age, that purpose could be anything. Maybe you're driven to show the possibility, and you're building the empire. And yes, you're creating wealth, and yes, you're buying your Rolex watches, and it's fabulous. Somebody has to create them. Somebody has to buy them. That's all. I'm all for it. And I have great respect for that. If it's done, for example, for the purpose of showing the possibility for younger generation that you can do, be, or have of anything, to be the beacon of living beyond limits. If it's done because you know that your wealth can have leverage in making change on the planet and creating more opportunities for employment and creating more opportunities for changing lives. You know that you're showing your kids that who can they be, and they could be proud of their father. If you are there to create a safe environment for your woman, that she feels protected and she can be radiant in the world, and you're here essentially to create a better world for generations to come in whatever individual way inspires you. Even if you paint a picture, or you're creating the most inspiring piece of music, or you write a poetry, or you're a janitor and you're doing the best to keep your given little place immaculately clean for those people to enjoy. It does not have to be a grandeur purpose of making millions. It doesn't, as long as it's sincere. If your purpose is to bring healing through your hands and you're a masseuse, amen to that, do that. But you have to know what and why. And that why has to be bigger. Now, brought into relationship, you never do things in a relationship when you're in touch with your purpose just for you or for your woman. No, because then you're going to become puppet to her wimpy, to her ever-changing capriciousness, and she's going to disrespect and despise you for that. You do things for us, and that us has to have a greater purpose for the whole of the humanity. It's not just you have someone to fuck every night. Excuse my language.
No.
It's not that. And it's not because you want to have comfort holding hands or someone to lean on somebody's shoulders. There has to be a greater purpose. And when that purpose is in place, all of those challenges that come up, they become very manageable because you come together for that greater thing that you're serving together. It becomes beyond your personal comfort in the moment.
Yeah, and all of that's so powerful, and it really strengthens the idea that you know, the fact that men have been reactive, and we've had wars, we've had, you know, all sorts of ridiculous violent stuff happen, and from coming from you, a female, and saying, look, these people are just like children, they're like, you know, that's not the way to be. That's empowering. That gives me hope, and I like that a lot, because, you know, as a society, we've put them on pedestals, you know, and to really hear it, you know, that's not the way to go. That feels so great. And also, another really clarifying part of what you said, which I really like, is in a relationship, you're not puppet to your woman or vice versa. Your purpose and is the top priority. You know, it's bigger than anything. And, you know, when we have these fears as well about, I don't want to get up on stage and do that talk, or, you know, or this piece of work's so big. You've got to remember that actually your vision and your purpose is bigger than you. It's bigger than your ego. And I think that's really affirming, and I do enjoy what you just said there.
Thank you. Well, may I offer some clarity on how I see what had happened to man throughout generations, and why they're in such a tough spot between a rock and a hard place right now. So, historically, men have been hunters. In order to kill another being, hunters or warriors, in order to kill another being, that has to be either a degree of numbness, so that you really cover up your own feelings and you get disconnected from life, or if you're doing it from the sincere purpose for feeding your family, then you do it in reverence for the life that you're taken, in deep love. There's a huge difference. It's not about hunting, it's about how it's done. But what has been happening, a lot was done unconsciously, and men were trained to numb their feelings, and they were trained to get dopamine addicted to instant rewards. And porn is doing that, and all kinds of stimuli, from computer games to alcohol to drugs, all of it is doing that. Even smoking too much pot, it dulls men's senses. So men have been numb. They have forgotten how to feel. They want to sometimes, and they don't have the connection to their own feelings. And it's scary to feel, because the amount of pain, if they tap into the world, it's overwhelming. So the sexiest quality in a man, do you know what it is?
The what quality?
Sexiest quality in a man. The sexiest. Beyond all.
Love, integrity, honor.
No, that's freedom.
Sorry? Freedom.
Freedom. Because it is love, but that freedom, and that is the internal freedom to be fully expressed, to be uncontrolled by anyone or anything, including his own limitations or his own inner fears. So the true crusade of these days is slaying your own inner dragons and becoming free from your own imprisonment and opening your heart. And that's where love comes through, in vulnerability and allowing yourself to feel deeply. And then you don't have to think what to say to your woman, or what does she mean, or how to understand her, because you feel her through your heart, and you know from your intuition, which is also available to men just as much as it is to women, what to say, when to say, when to shake her, when to hug her, when to put her in the bed and make love to her, or when to just hold her and embrace, like, and hold the space and just be present and just listen to her and let her vent. There is no one set formula for every equation, except in your own heart. You always have all the answers, but you have to be in touch with your heart. And that is the journey of the peaceful warrior.
Yes, that's so true. And, you know, speaking from my own journey as a man, I have been so disconnected, not realizing, and it's prevalent throughout all of society, really. And once you really smash it open, you know, your heart, then everything so much more becomes possible. It's such an amazing experience. And, you know, you can do that through becoming present as well. That's at least what I've found. But yes. So talking of love and coming from that place, how do we know that we are making choices from a love place? You know, are there instances when we can be making choices actually from a fear-based place, but thinking it's from a love-based position?
That's my favorite subject. So I want everybody to visualize something for a second. Imagine the road, and you're approaching the fork in the road, and one leads to the right, another one leads to the left. And if you have pen and paper, even draw that fork on the road. And every moment of every day, you are in that fork, and you are making a decision, whether rooted in your heart and aligned with your soul, and that is decision towards love, or you make a decision out of fear. And sometimes it gets confusing. For example, you have cheated on your woman, and she's asking you, have you cheated on me? Which one is love? Which one is fear? Because it seems like you want to protect her feelings. You don't want to get her feeling her hurt, and you're going to lie out of love. Maybe you're going to lie out of fear of the consequences. What's the truth? Each person can only know what that answer in that moment, deep in the heart, in that moment. Here's how to know. When you're making the choice out of love, you feel easier, it feels like a relief, it feels more expansive, it feels like opening in your body. That's where you feel it, in your body. Make a decision out of fear, contracting, you feel that something is heavy on your heart and it feels like shrinkage. Further, what happens, even if it's scary for whatever consequences, to make a decision out of love, but thinking, this is truly love, and you're going in that direction, then life takes you to the new quality of choices in the next stage. And you are never presented with this kind of challenge or problem or a choice ever again, because you were able to make a choice towards love. If you make a choice out of fear, then life brings you right back into the same spot, and it loops. And that's how we create toxic patterns that people can get stuck in. When you see someone experiencing same scenario over and over and over again, let's say somebody experiences infidelity over and over, and one friend betrays them after another, or they keep losing money, like making losing. It means always that somewhere along the line, the decision was made out of fear. And the life brings them back right to the same spot. Now, the way our mind works, actual physical brain, nature always strives for efficiency. So literally neurological pathways get developed in our brain and create connections that once we have done already action once and make a decision, next time making the same choice is biologically easier and we're more inclined to do the same thing. Yeah. Then you do it again, and then your biology goes like, cool, soon we're going to put it in autopilot. You repeat it a few times, and then it becomes your mode of operation, habitual way of being. And often people get lost in this loop, so much so that they completely lose the perspective of making a different choice. You ask them, could you done anything else differently? And they say no. That's how people go in and out of prison, because that's what they've created, that loop, and they get stuck on it. So that's why often it takes someone like me or some other person who can see outside of that mind maze and guide them towards the choice made from love, because people do not see that possibility even after so many years of practicing the toxic pattern. And until and unless a person makes a different choice and then reinforces that new way and in their being, that becomes who they are, there is no cure. And there's, again, I want to repeat that there is no behavioral solution. It's an internal choice. I loved your question. It couldn't have been better. Thank you.
Thank you for answering it. Yeah, it's been such a critical thing in my journey. You know, having gone from going round and round in circles, doing the same patterns, and I just see people doing it everywhere as well. And, you know, we're not always aware of it. You know, this is kind of shadow programs as well running there. So, yeah, I love the fact that if you think about it in terms of love, then that's a good way that we can think in that moment and become aware of our decisions. But what about the definition of love? Some people must get confused with, you know, what is love, right?
What do you think is love?
What do I think is love? Well, it's a good question. Love's a feeling. Love's the way that I would be able to relate to it is it's a feeling. But there are various feelings, right? So there's like sexual feelings. There's the love you might have for your mother, which might be different to your child or your romantic partner.
I'm glad you asking me this. Thank you. So I think the word love has been hugely misused in our society. And most people have no idea what love is. And they call things love, which have nothing to do with love whatsoever. The way I see it, love is the very essence of life. It's the permeating consciousness that flows into every form and creates life itself. That's what is at the core of things, and that's the essence of who we are. The way we experience love as humans may be in the form of a feeling, in a form of connection, and in the purest form, it's very, very acute appreciation, the purest appreciation. That's love. Now, what some people call love, I see this especially with young people, they think jealousy is a sign of love. Couldn't have been any further, because jealousy is rooted in fear, and fear is the impediment to love. Fear is something that blocks us from feeling and being and expressing love. So a lot of human behaviors that have been linked to love, like any manipulation or any blackmail or any games, they have nothing to do with love whatsoever. So love is a purest energy that is at the core of life itself, and it flows freely. It needs nothing. When a person's, there is in our society such a bullshit like unrequited love does not exist because love needs no reciprocity. Seriously, it needs no reciprocity. Love is sufficient because it's everything. If I truly love you, or I say I love you, but I want to see that you love me back, then I don't love you because I'm still needy. If I love you, I have something to give to you. Love is a gift. And if in the moment I need something from you, I want your love. I'm not loving, right? And when people say that we fall in love, what we do, another person inspires a spontaneous heart opening in ourselves. And the love that we feel in love, it's our own love, it's not theirs. And it's beautiful when it flows from both directions and we co-create this delightful dance where we're admiring each other and it's pure. But the moment we start needing you to behave a certain way to prove your love to me, then there is no freedom in that. Love is ultimately free. There are no requirements. There are no conditions. There are no rules. There are no definitions that are applicable to love, because any definition will create a limitation.
I love that. And I just thought of, because you asked me, what does love mean? You know, what is love? And I had to think about it when you're talking. And something that I do in the morning is I think about what I'm grateful for in my life. And when I do that, when I think about everything I'm grateful for, I fill up with a feeling of love, and it spills out. So that's my definition, if you like. So thank you for that. But
yeah, exactly, appreciation.
Yeah. So relationships are not always going to be pure love all the time, right? You're going to have times when you might be blaming each other. How do you deal with, maybe if you're receiving blame, how would you deal with that? Your partner's blaming you for something. How would you deal with that?
I would say I'll share with you my AAA relationship formula, which I believe if people knew nothing about relationships but just adopted this formula, it will be dramatically improving the quality of their relationships across the board. And it's not only applicable for a relationship with your lover, it's for your kids, for everything. And the AAA is an acronym. The number 1 is accountability. So you're 100% responsible for your relationships, for all of them. And it's not 50-50, 100% is your responsibility. Because if you believe in the law of attraction, or you understand how the universe works, and we talked about this earlier, that your relationship becomes the mirror of what's inside. Yeah. And it's always an opportunity to discover more of yourself. Actually, that's one of the purposes of a relationship, is a self-discovery. You're learning through your partner's reflections more of who you are. And you're making choices whom you're becoming. So it's a process of becoming as well. So if a partner is blaming you, then it's a great opportunity to look within and say, what am I blaming myself for? Am I afraid to be blamed for something? Where is that fear of being blamed coming from? So your partner is only reflecting to you something that you already have inside, right? I'll give you an example. Years ago, I was in a relationship which I could not believe I found myself. Like, how could I know everything I know and end up in this dipshit? Right? It's like, what?
Yeah.
And my partner at the time called me spoiled brat, and it totally hurt me. I was like, what? This is so unfair. How could someone call me that? I mean, really? I have everything I have. I worked for. It's like, what? Like, it seemed so unfair and so painful. It was like he found the most painful thing he could find and just hit me under the belt with that. So, but then, because I know that I'm responsible 100%, I sat with that and I literally wrote in my journal, I said, Miro says I'm a spoiled brat. Do I believe I'm a spoiled brat? No. Any part of me believes any of that? No. Is this true? No. Is this fair? No. So how could have I created that?
Yeah.
And then I looked deeper and I discovered that, I'm afraid of being the spoiled brat. I have judgment against women who are spoiled brats. So that part of me that doesn't mind being a spoiled brat and wants to be spoiled once in a while is denounced as inappropriate because they have judgment. So how do I integrate it into embracing that part of myself? And it's okay to sometimes be spoiled brat, and maybe I'm a spoiled brat by universe always brings me miracles and surprises and paves my way. I am a spoiled brat in that sense, right? I'm loved by God. So now at the moment I integrated it within myself and I owned it, and it didn't have this negative connotation anymore in my head. Now anyone can call me spoiled brat and I wouldn't give a rip. But the truth is no one does anymore.
No.
So anytime we have those buttons that could be pushed, it's always an invitation to look within and see where the button is. Because we can, no matter how hard we try to control people around us, not to push our buttons, as long as you have the buttons, the universe will deliberately bring someone who will push your button until you get rid of the button.
That is so true. That is so true. Yeah, absolutely. I've had loads of those issues myself, and they continue to come up. You know.
Yeah.
And they come up until.
Because I promised the AAA formula, and I just delivered the first day, and I'll give the other two real quick. So the first one is accountability, you're 100% responsible. The other one is acceptance, the whole 100% acceptance of yourself and of your partner. And the third one is appreciation. And if you just appreciate yourself and everything that your partner brings into your life and your relationship day in and day out, you're golden. So, and if you want to more, read my book, Best Thing Ever. It's all spelled out there.
Excellent. Well, we are actually running out of time now. So so thank you for giving us all your wisdom. But before we end, you have a free gift. Would you mind telling us a little bit about that?
Of course. And you know what? My free gift is actually the toolkit that helps you discover those buttons, those triggers, and dissolve them. So if you go to bestthingever.com/toolkit, there is a video that explains how those triggers are formed and what they are. So you have a better cognitive understanding of how it all works in your psychology and in your body. And then it gives you a step-by-step instruction on how to dissolve as many as you're diligent to do on your own. And then there's another bonus surprise, which I'm going to not reveal at the moment, but if you go to that page, it's there, because there are some triggers and some deeper causes that we are not able to see ourselves. So you will have an opportunity to even uncover those.
Wow, thank you, Sky. Such a wealth of knowledge we've had today and some great resources. And thank you for being so generous with your free gift. I really appreciate it, and I'm sure the viewers do as well. Yeah, thank you for everybody watching, and tune in tomorrow for another episode, and we'll have another amazing speaker expert. So until then, peace and love.
Thank you so much for having me. It was truly an honor.
Thank you.